Welcome to PM Movie Recaps. Today's pick is a crime and thriller of 2018, Entangled. If you're ready, let's enjoy the video. A farmer hunts a pesky, seemingly visually impaired hare in a cabbage field beside a highway. As the hare hides behind a milestone on the highway, the farmer spots it and takes aim with his gun. Akash is a talented but seemingly blind pianist in search of inspiration. He spends his time fervently attempting to complete a musical piece, which is an example of his finest art. The only people seemingly aware of his innocuous presence initially are a neighboring kid who keeps testing him in an attempt to see if he is truly blind and a pet cat named Ronnie. Akash is crossing a road and just then a girl on her scooter bumps into him. The girl's name is Sophie, and once she realizes that Akash is blind, she apologizes a lot to him. She still feels guilty and, out of pity, takes Akash to a nearby restaurant. While talking, Akash tells Sophie that he plays the piano, and upon hearing this, Sophie takes him to her father's restaurant, which is famous among well-off people. Sophie and her father needed one such artist who could elevate the ambience of their restaurant, and when Akash plays the piano, they are dumbstruck and decide to hire him as their pianist. Sophie drops Akash at his house. While going home, Akash tells Sophie that he was hit by a ball on his head when he was a child. The ball damaged some of his brain nerves, which is why he is blind. When Sophie leaves, it is revealed that Akash can see, as he watches Sophie drive away. The next day, Sophie comes to pick up Akash again, and once they reach the restaurant, Akash starts playing the piano, which all the guests love. This restaurant hosts a lot of well-off people, and while Akash was playing, he was noticed by actor Pramod Sinha. Pramod reaches out to him and invites him to a personal concert. Pramod even gives him a huge amount in advance. Pramod wants to surprise his wife on their anniversary with a very romantic live concert. Akash leaves in advance, and Sophie drops him off at his house. When they reach home, the rain starts, and Akash has to invite Simi inside. Sophie stays in Akash's room for a while, and they talk and drink. Sophie and Akash indulge in love, and the two develop a relationship. The next day, Akash reaches Pramod's house for the concert. Simi opens the door and is reluctant to let him in but does so when she sees that her neighbor is watching them. Simi, convinced that Akash is blind, allows him to play the piano inside. Akash begins but immediately notices a body nearby. However, he feigns ignorance and continues to play the piano to maintain his charade of blindness. Akash excuses himself and goes to the bathroom, whereupon he sees Inspector Manohar hiding but acts as if he is unaware of him, since he is assumed to be blind. On his return to the piano, he manages to identify the body as that of Pramod Sinha. Simi and Manohar clean the body up silently and put it in a suitcase to be disposed of while Akash resumes playing the piano, supposedly unaware. It is revealed that Pramod had lied to his wife about a supposed trip to Bangalore, but in reality, he had gone to bring anniversary gifts as a surprise for her. Afterwards, Akash attempts to report the murder but is unable to, as he discovers that Manohar is an inspector at the police station. As Inspector Manohar would know Akash was aware the whole time, Akash finally ends up lying about the boy living downstairs and accusing him of killing his cat Ronnie to change the reason of his approaching the police. Simi manages to kill the neighbor who had also noticed Manohar's entry into the flat, once again in the unwitting Akash's presence, who is forced to continue his charade of being unaware of either of the murders. Both Manohar and Simi continue to intimidate Akash, perpetually testing him to ascertain if he was really blind. Akash finally cracks when Simi manages to pour poison in his coffee in front of him, in an attempt to ascertain if he was really blind. Akash then insists that he doesn't want any problems, and just wants to leave for a concert in London. He then tells Simi that he faked the blindness as part of a social experiment in one of his pursuits for inspiration as an artist. However, he begins to choke, realizing that a sweet that Simi had given him earlier was poisoned. Retching, he collapses. Sophie comes by and sees that the neighboring child had recorded a video of Akash moving and seeing his way about like a normal person. She feels manipulated and knocks on Akash's door. Simi opens the door and pretends that Akash and Simi are having an affair. Furious and heartbroken, she leaves the house in a rage. Akash wakes up and, realizing that he cannot see, intensely washes his eyes. He realizes he has been blinded and demands that Simi restore his sight. Simi tells him to focus on his art and that no one would believe his story of her guilt on the two murders since he was a blind man, and leaves. After a discussion with Manohar, they decide that blinding Akash would not be enough as he could still reveal details, and Manohar comes back to finish the job. After a tense struggle, Akash escapes out to the road, faints and comes to an Ashadi clinic, which is revealed to be a front for illicit organ harvesting. Dr. Swami and his two assistants decide to spare Akash and help him in his quest for gaining money required to reverse his blinding. They kidnap and subdue Simi and blackmail Manohar into bringing 1 crore rupees to a specified location. However, the assistants tie Akash up with Simi to claim all the money for themselves. They then extort the money from Manohar, who shoots one of them but gets trapped in an elevator by the other. Manohar, trapped, then ends up accidentally shooting himself. The money extorted from Manohar is eventually revealed to be fake money. Meanwhile, a desperate Akash removes Simi's blindfold after she helps him to free himself. Akash, blind but guided by Simi, attempts to escape while Simi frees herself and attacks him. Dr. Swami enters and the two of them subdue Simi. Dr. Swami and Akash ties Simi in the trunk of a car and begin driving. Dr. Swami reveals his plans to harvest Simi's organs for 6 crore rupees and pay for Akash's cornea transplant, but Akash is morally concerned by the notion. Dr. Swami drives away with Akash, and Simi is bound in the trunk. 2 years later, in Europe, a traveling Sophie meets Akash, who is still apparently blind with dark glasses, at one of his gigs in Europe, where he tells her the entire story. Akash then tells her that after Dr. Swami had driven away with him, Simi awakened in the trunk and started making noises. Swami dismisses Akash's hesitation, stops the car and goes to the trunk of the car, where he is swiftly overpowered by Simi. Simi then takes control of the car. Akash, thinking that it is still Dr. Swami at the wheel, continues to try to convince him to let Simi go. Hearing this, Simi drops Akash off and drives off, but changes her mind and turns around, intending to run him over. At this point, the hair slams into her windshield, causing her to lose control and crash. The car explodes, killing Simi with it. Sophie hears the entire story and sympathizes. She tells Akash that he should have harvested Simi's organs and gotten his sight back. Akash doesn't say a word and leaves with the help of his stick, which has a rabbit carved on its handle. Once out of sight, he uses the stick to smartly swat Akan out of his path, which means he is just pretending to be blind. Thank you for watching, but before leaving, please make sure that you click subscribe and turn on the notification so that you can enjoy watching